Mr. Clean, as everyone affectionately called him, wasn't really named Mr. Clean. His real name was Arthur Jenkins, but he earned the nickname because he was the best janitor Sunny Meadow Hospital had ever seen. Arthur took immense pride in his work. He wasn't just pushing a mop, he was keeping the hospital a safe and healthy place for everyone, the doctors, the nurses, and most importantly, the patients. Every morning, Arthur arrived before the sun peeked over the horizon. He'd unlock the supply closet, grab his trusty bucket and mop, and begin his rounds. He knew every nook and cranny of the hospital, from the bustling emergency room to the quiet pediatric wing. He whistled cheerful tunes as he went, his mop dancing across the linoleum floors. Arthur wasn't just good at cleaning, he was also incredibly observant. He noticed everything. A misplaced chart, a flickering light bulb, a flower pot that needed watering, nothing escaped his sharp eyes. He believed it was his duty to make sure everything was perfect, not just clean. He was also a friend to everyone. He knew the nurses' names, the doctor's coffee orders, and even the patient's favorite TV shows. He always had a kind word or a joke to share, brightening everyone's day just a little bit. He'd offer a comforting smile to worried families or a high five to brave kids. Dr. Pillgood, on the other hand, wasn't known for his friendly demeanor. He was a respected surgeon, but he kept to himself, often rushing past people in the hallways without so much as a nod. Arthur always made sure to give him a cheerful, "Good morning, doctor," but usually only received a grunt in return. Still, Arthur didn't take it personally. He figured the doctor was just busy saving lives. Arthur's cart squeaked a little as he pushed it down the hallway toward Dr. Pillgood's office. He made sure to polish the brass nameplate outside the door every day. Dr. Thomas Pillgood, M.D., it read. He paused, remembering how shiny it looked yesterday. He smiled. Little things, he thought, made a big difference. He continued down the hall, whistling a happy tune, completely unaware that his keen observation skills and friendly nature were about to uncover a terrible secret that would shake Sunny Meadow Hospital to its core. He just knew he had a hospital to clean and people to cheer up, one mop stroke and kind word at a time. The next morning, Arthur was back at it, whistling his way through the hospital. He started his routine, emptying trash cans, wiping down surfaces, and making sure everything sparkled. As he approached Dr. Pillgood's area, he noticed something odd. The sink in the small preparation room connected to Dr. Pillgood's office was overflowing again. It wasn't just a little overflow, either. Water was cascading down the sides of the sink, forming a small puddle on the floor. Arthur frowned. He'd cleaned this area just yesterday, and he remembered the doctor saying he was preparing some special medicine. He'd even seen Dr. Pillgood inside, carefully measuring liquids into beakers. That's funny, Arthur muttered to himself, grabbing his mop. He must be making a lot of medicine. He sopped up the water, careful not to slip on the wet floor. As he worked, he noticed something else. The water in the sink had a strange, milky look to it. It wasn't clear like regular water, and it had a faint, almost medicinal smell. He sniffed cautiously. It smelled a bit like the strong pain medicine they sometimes used after big operations. Arthur knew that doctors often mixed medicines, but he'd never seen so much waste. Usually, they were very careful not to spill a drop. Medicine was expensive, after all. He remembered his own mother, who was a nurse before she retired, always reminding him not to waste anything. He finished cleaning up the spill, but the image of the overflowing sink stuck in his mind. It just didn't seem right. He continued his rounds, but the thought kept nagging at him. He checked the sink again later that morning, and it was overflowing once more. This time, the puddle was even bigger. He decided he couldn't ignore it any longer. He knew he had to say something. But who should he tell? He considered telling Ms. Stern, the hospital administrator, but she was always so busy. He didn't want to bother her with something that might be nothing. Then, he remembered Nurse Helpful. She was the kindest nurse in the whole hospital, always ready to lend a hand or offer a listening ear. She worked closely with Dr. Pillgood and would probably know if something was amiss. Plus, she was always so cheerful and understanding. Arthur made his decision. He would talk to Nurse Helpful. He knew she would listen, and if there was a problem, she would know what to do. He just hoped he wasn't overreacting. Maybe Dr. Pillgood was just a little clumsy. But something in his gut told him that this was more than just an accident. He just couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right in Dr. Pillgood's office. The overflowing sinks and the milky water, it all added up to a puzzle he needed to solve. Finding Nurse Helpful wasn't difficult. She was usually in the same place, the bustling nurses' station on the second floor, right in the middle of all the action. Arthur spotted her immediately, her bright red hair a beacon in the crowded room. She was helping a patient with his lunch, her face radiating warmth and concern. Arthur waited patiently until Nurse Helpful was finished. He didn't want to interrupt. He knew how important it was for her to focus on her patients. Finally, she turned to him, her smile as bright as the morning sun. "Well, hello, Mr. Clean," she said cheerfully. "What brings you up to our neck of the woods?" Arthur hesitated for a moment, feeling a little nervous. He wasn't used to talking about serious things. He preferred to keep things light and happy. But he knew he had to tell her what he had seen. "Well, Nurse Helpful," he began, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "I've been noticing something strange in Dr. Pillgood's office area." Nurse Helpful's smile softened, and she leaned in closer, her expression becoming more serious. "What is it, Arthur? You know you can tell me anything." Arthur explained about the overflowing sinks, the milky water, and the medicinal smell. He told her how Dr. Pillgood said he was preparing medicine, but it seemed like a lot of waste. Nurse Helpful listened intently, her brow furrowed in concern. She knew Dr. Pillgood was a bit of a loner, but she had never suspected anything like this. She had seen him preparing medications, but she hadn't paid close attention to the details. "That is strange, Arthur," she said thoughtfully. "Dr. Pillgood does prescribe some strong pain medications, but he's usually very careful. I'll keep an eye on things." Arthur felt a wave of relief wash over him. He was glad he had told her. He trusted Nurse Helpful completely. He knew she would do the right thing. "Thank you, Nurse Helpful," he said gratefully. "I appreciate you listening." "Of course, Arthur," she replied, patting his arm. "We all have to look out for each other. And thank you for bringing this to my attention. You have a good eye, Mr. Clean." As Arthur walked away, he felt a little better, but he still couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. He knew that Nurse Helpful would investigate, but he also knew that Dr. Pillgood was a powerful and respected figure in the hospital. He hoped that she wouldn't get into trouble for questioning him. He knew that speaking up could be difficult, especially when it involved someone in a position of authority. He just prayed that everything would be all right and that the mystery of the overflowing sinks would soon be solved. He went back to his cleaning, trying to focus on his work, but the image of the milky water kept flashing in his mind. True to her word, Nurse Helpful began to discreetly observe Dr. Pillgood's medication practices. She knew she had to be careful. Dr. Pillgood was a respected surgeon, and she didn't want to make accusations without solid evidence. She also didn't want to alert him to her suspicions, as that might cause him to hide what he was doing, if he was doing anything wrong. During her lunch break, Nurse Helpful reviewed Dr. Pillgood's recent patient charts. She noticed a pattern. Many of his patients were prescribed strong opioid painkillers after their surgeries. That wasn't unusual, but the dosages seemed a little higher than normal, and the refills were more frequent than she remembered. She then decided to check the medication disposal logs. These logs tracked the amount of medication used and any waste that was discarded. She found that Dr. Pillgood was indeed documenting the use of large amounts of opioid medication. However, something still felt off. Later that afternoon, Nurse Helpful made her way to the medication storage room. It was a small, secure room with locked cabinets and a strict inventory system. She needed to check something, and she hoped she wouldn't get caught. She found the cabinet where the opioid medications were stored. Carefully, she examined the vials of liquid painkiller that Dr. Pillgood had been using. She picked up a vial that was supposed to be full, according to the inventory log. She held it up to the light. It felt lighter than it should. Her heart began to race. She gently shook the vial. There was a faint sloshing sound, but the liquid inside didn't look quite right. It was too clear, almost watery. She quickly checked several other vials. Some felt almost empty, while others contained a suspiciously diluted liquid. It was as if someone had taken some of the medication out and replaced it with water. Nurse Helpful's suspicions were confirmed. Dr. Pillgood wasn't just wasting medication, he was doing something much worse. He was tampering with the drugs, likely stealing some of the opioid medication. But why? The answer, she knew, was probably money. Opioid painkillers were highly addictive and very expensive on the black market. Someone could make a lot of money selling stolen medication. Nurse Helpful felt a wave of anger and disappointment wash over her. She couldn't believe that a respected doctor would stoop so low. He was betraying his patients, endangering their health, and violating his oath to do no harm. She knew she had to act quickly. She couldn't let Dr. Pillgood continue to steal and dilute the medication. She had to report him to the authorities. But who should she tell? She trusted Ms. Stern, the hospital administrator, but she knew that Ms. Stern would need solid proof before taking action against Dr. Pillgood. She needed to find a way to present her findings in a clear and convincing way. The safety of the patients at Sunny Meadow Hospital depended on it. With a heavy heart, Nurse Helpful headed towards Ms. Stern's office. Ms. Stern was known for her no-nonsense attitude and her unwavering commitment to the hospital's integrity. She was a fair but firm leader, and Nurse Helpful knew she would take this matter seriously. Ms. Stern's office was located on the top floor of the hospital, overlooking the sprawling city below. It was a spacious room, but it was decorated simply and efficiently. Everything was organized and in its place, reflecting Ms. Stern's meticulous nature. Nurse Helpful knocked softly on the door. "Come in," Ms. Stern's voice called out. Nurse Helpful entered the office and found Ms. Stern sitting behind her large wooden desk, reviewing some documents. Ms. Stern looked up, her expression serious but welcoming. "Nurse Helpful, what can I do for you?" she asked, placing her pen down on the desk. Nurse Helpful took a deep breath and began to explain what she and Mr. Clean had observed. She recounted Mr. Clean's observations about the overflowing sinks and the milky water. Then, she shared her own findings about the diluted medication and the discrepancies in the inventory logs. As she spoke, Ms. Stern's expression grew increasingly grave. She listened intently, without interrupting, her eyes fixed on Nurse Helpful's face. When Nurse Helpful finished, Ms. Stern remained silent for a moment, processing the information. "This is a very serious allegation, Nurse Helpful," she said finally, her voice calm but firm. "Dr. Pillgood is a valued member of our medical staff. We need to be absolutely certain before we take any action." Nurse Helpful nodded, understanding Ms. Stern's caution. "I understand, Ms. Stern. That's why I wanted to bring this to your attention. I know we need more proof, but I truly believe that something is wrong." Ms. Stern leaned back in her chair, her brow furrowed in thought. "I appreciate you coming forward, Nurse Helpful. I trust your judgment, and I know you wouldn't bring this to me without good reason. I will look into this matter personally." She paused, then added, "In the meantime, I need you to keep this confidential. We can't risk alerting Dr. Pillgood to our investigation. Can I count on you for that?" "Of course, Ms. Stern," Nurse Helpful replied immediately. "You can trust me." Ms. Stern nodded, her eyes filled with determination. "Good. I will start an internal investigation immediately. We will get to the bottom of this, one way or another. Thank you, Nurse Helpful, for your courage and your honesty. You've done the right thing." Nurse Helpful felt a sense of relief wash over her. She knew that Ms. Stern would handle the situation with care and professionalism. She left Ms. Stern's office feeling a little lighter, but she still carried the weight of the knowledge that a trusted doctor might be betraying his patients. She hoped that Ms. Stern could uncover the truth quickly and bring Dr. Pilgood to justice, if he was indeed guilty. The well-being of the patients at Sunny Meadow Hospital depended on it. Ms. Stern, true to her word, began the investigation immediately. She knew that time was of the essence. If Dr. Pilgood was indeed stealing medication, every moment he went unchecked put patients at risk. Her first step was to consult with Mr. Davies, the head of hospital security. Mr. Davies was a former police officer, a burly man with a sharp mind and a keen eye for detail. He was known for his thoroughness and his unwavering dedication to keeping the hospital safe. Ms. Stern explained the situation to Mr. Davies, outlining Nurse Helpful's findings and her own concerns. Mr. Davies listened carefully, his expression growing more serious with each passing word. "We need concrete evidence, Miss Stern," Mr. Davies said, when she had finished. "We can't accuse Dr. Pilgood based on suspicion alone. We need to catch him in the act." Ms. Stern nodded in agreement. "I understand. That's why I'm proposing we install a hidden security camera in Dr. Pilgood's office, specifically in the small preparation room where Mr. Clean noticed the overflowing sinks." Mr. Davies considered the idea for a moment. "It's risky, Ms. Stern. If Dr. Pilgood discovers the camera, it could jeopardize the entire investigation. But it's also our best chance of obtaining irrefutable evidence." "I agree," Ms. Stern said firmly. "We'll install the camera in a way that's as discreet as possible. We'll choose a location that's out of sight and difficult to detect. And we'll make sure the installation is done by someone who is experienced and trustworthy." Mr. Davies nodded. "I have just the person in mind. Officer Reynolds is one of my best. She's skilled with electronics and very good at being discreet." The next day, Officer Reynolds, disguised as a maintenance worker, arrived at Sunny Meadow Hospital. Under the cover of routine repairs, she expertly installed a small, high-resolution security camera in the corner of Dr. Pilgood's preparation room. The camera was cleverly hidden inside a smoke detector, making it virtually undetectable. Ms. Stern and Mr. Davies monitored the footage from a secure location in the security office. They watched Dr. Pilgood's every move, hoping to catch him in the act of diluting or stealing medication. Days turned into nights, and the tension in the room grew thicker with each passing hour. They saw Dr. Pilgood treating patients, consulting with nurses, and preparing medications. But so far, they saw nothing suspicious. Ms. Stern began to worry that they had made a mistake. Perhaps Dr. Pilgood was innocent after all. But she knew they had to be patient and continue to monitor the footage. The truth, she believed, would eventually reveal itself. And the safety of her patients depended on it. On the 5th day of monitoring, just as Ms. Stern was beginning to lose hope, something finally happened. It was late in the afternoon, around 4 p.m., and Dr. Pilgood was alone in his office. He had just finished seeing his last patient of the day and was preparing to leave for the evening. Ms. Stern and Mr. Davies watched intently as Dr. Pilgood entered the small preparation room. He closed the door behind him, ensuring he was completely alone. He walked over to the medication cabinet and unlocked it with a key he took from his pocket. He reached inside and pulled out a vial of liquid morphine, a powerful opioid painkiller. He held it up to the light, examining it carefully. Then, he reached into his pocket again and pulled out a small syringe. Ms. Stern and Mr. Davies held their breath, their eyes glued to the screen. They watched in stunned silence as Dr. Pilgood carefully drew a portion of the morphine out of the vial with the syringe. He then reached for a bottle of sterile water and injected the water into the vial, replacing the morphine he had removed. He shook the vial gently to mix the diluted solution. Then, he carefully placed the vial back into the medication cabinet and locked it up again. He put the syringe back in his pocket and walked over to the sink. Ms. Stern and Mr. Davies watched in disbelief as Dr. Pillgood turned on the faucet and emptied the contents of the syringe down the drain. He then rinsed the syringe thoroughly and placed it back in his pocket. He turned off the faucet and wiped down the sink with a paper towel, carefully removing any traces of the diluted morphine. He then opened the door and walked out of the preparation room, locking it behind him. He grabbed his coat and briefcase and left his office, seemingly without a care in the world. Ms. Stern and Mr. Davies stared at the screen in stunned silence. They had just witnessed Dr. Pillgood diluting opioid medication and stealing the excess. They had irrefutable proof of his criminal activity. "That's it," Ms. Stern said, her voice trembling with anger and disbelief. "We have enough evidence. Call the police, Mr. Davies. It's time to arrest Dr. Pillgood." Mr. Davies nodded grimly and reached for the phone. The game was up. Dr. Pillgood's secret was out, and he was about to face the consequences of his actions. The safety of the patients at Sunny Meadow Hospital had finally been secured. Within minutes, 2 police officers arrived at Sunny Meadow Hospital. They were briefed by Ms. Stern and Mr. Davies, who showed them the security footage as evidence. The officers were shocked and angered by what they saw. They couldn't believe that a doctor, someone who was supposed to heal and protect, would stoop so low as to steal medication and endanger his patients. The officers decided to arrest Dr. Pillgood immediately, while he was still at the hospital. They didn't want to give him a chance to escape or destroy any evidence. They coordinated with Ms. Stern to ensure the arrest would be as discreet as possible, to avoid alarming the patients and staff. Dr. Pillgood was still in his office, catching up on paperwork, when the officers arrived. He looked up in surprise as they entered, their faces stern and unyielding. "Dr. Thomas Pillgood," one of the officers asked, his voice firm. "Yes, that's me," Dr. Pillgood replied, his brow furrowed in confusion. "What is this about?" "Dr. Pillgood, you're under arrest for theft, tampering with medication, and endangering the lives of your patients," the officer said, his voice leaving no room for argument. "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." Dr. Pillgood's face paled. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He was completely stunned. He couldn't believe this was happening to him. The officers placed him in handcuffs and led him out of his office, past the shocked faces of the nurses and staff who had gathered in the hallway. Dr. Pillgood kept his head down, avoiding eye contact with anyone. He was filled with shame and regret. As they walked past the nurses' station, Dr. Pillgood saw Nurse Helpful standing there, her expression a mixture of sadness and disappointment. He knew that she had been the one to raise the alarm. He felt a pang of guilt, knowing that he had betrayed her trust and the trust of everyone at Sunny Meadow Hospital. The officers escorted Dr. Pillgood out of the hospital and into a waiting police car. As the car drove away, Ms. Stern watched from her office window, her heart filled with a mix of emotions. She was relieved that Dr. Pillgood had been apprehended, but she was also saddened by the whole situation. She had always believed in giving people the benefit of the doubt, but Dr. Pillgood had proven to be a disappointment. She knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but she was determined to restore trust and ensure the safety of her patients. The hospital would recover, and Sunny Meadow would continue to be a place of healing and hope. News of Dr. Pillgood's arrest spread quickly throughout Sunny Meadow Hospital. The staff was in shock. Many found it hard to believe that someone they had trusted and respected could be capable of such a crime. The nurses whispered amongst themselves, wondering if they had missed any signs. The doctors shook their heads in disbelief, questioning their own judgment. Mr. Clean, who was busy cleaning the lobby, overheard the hushed conversations. He stopped his work and listened intently, piecing together the details of what had happened. He felt a mix of emotions, relief that the truth had been uncovered, sadness for Dr. Pillgood's betrayal, and a sense of pride that his observation had played a part in bringing the doctor to justice. He saw Nurse Helpful walking by, her face etched with concern. He approached her cautiously. "Nurse Helpful," he said softly, "I heard about Dr. Pillgood. I'm so sorry. Nurse Helpful looked up, her eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, Arthur, she said, using his real name. It's a terrible situation. But we did the right thing. We couldn't let him continue to hurt people. I know, Arthur replied. But it's still hard to believe. It is, Nurse Helpful agreed. But we have to focus on moving forward and ensuring that something like this never happens again. Later that day, Ms. Stern called a hospital-wide meeting to address the staff's concerns and to reassure them that the hospital was taking steps to prevent future incidents. She explained the details of the investigation and the evidence that had been gathered against Dr. Pilgood. She also announced that the hospital would be implementing stricter medication control policies, including more frequent inventory checks and enhanced security measures. She emphasized the importance of vigilance and encouraged everyone to report any suspicious activity, no matter how small it might seem. We are a team here at Sunny Meadow Hospital, Ms. Stern said, her voice filled with conviction. We must work together to protect our patients and to maintain the integrity of our institution. I know that this has been a difficult time for all of us, but I am confident that we will emerge stronger and more united than ever before. Ms. Stern also made a point of publicly thanking Nurse Helpful and Mr. Clean for their courage and their dedication to the hospital. She praised their attentiveness and their willingness to speak up when they saw something wrong. Nurse Helpful and Mr. Clean are true heroes, Ms. Stern said, her voice filled with admiration. They represent the best of Sunny Meadow Hospital. We are all incredibly grateful for their service. The staff applauded enthusiastically, showing their appreciation for Nurse Helpful and Mr. Clean's bravery. Arthur blushed, feeling a little embarrassed by the attention. He never thought of himself as a hero. He was just doing his job, keeping the hospital clean and safe. But he was proud to have played a part in uncovering the truth and protecting the patients he cared so much about. He went back to mopping the floor, a little taller, a little prouder, and a lot more determined to keep Sunny Meadow Hospital the best it could be. In the days that followed Dr. Pilgood's arrest, Sunny Meadow Hospital worked tirelessly to address the concerns of its patients and to ensure that everyone received the proper care. Ms. Stern and her team conducted a thorough review of all of Dr. Pilgood's patient records to identify anyone who may have been affected by his actions. They contacted each patient personally to explain the situation and to offer them a free medical evaluation. They wanted to make sure that no one had suffered any harm as a result of receiving diluted medication. The hospital also worked with local pharmacies to provide patients with replacement medications at no cost. They wanted to ensure that everyone had access to the pain relief they needed, without having to worry about the cost. Ms. Stern issued a public statement, apologizing to the patients and the community for Dr. Pilgood's actions. She assured them that the hospital was taking every possible step to prevent similar incidents from happening in the future. We understand that you have lost trust in us, Ms. Stern said in her statement. We are committed to earning that trust back. We will do everything in our power to ensure that Sunny Meadow Hospital remains a safe and reliable place for you to receive medical care. The hospital also offered counseling services to patients and staff who were struggling to cope with the emotional impact of Dr. Pilgood's betrayal. They wanted to provide support to those who were feeling anxious, angry, or confused. Nurse Helpful played a key role in reassuring patients and helping them to understand what had happened. She spent countless hours talking to people, listening to their concerns, and answering their questions. Her kind and compassionate nature helped to ease their fears and to restore their faith in the hospital. Mr. Clean continued to work tirelessly to keep the hospital clean and safe. He took extra pride in his work, knowing that he was playing a vital role in restoring the hospital's reputation. He smiled at everyone he met, offering words of encouragement and support. He wanted to let everyone know that Sunny Meadow Hospital was still a place of healing and hope. Slowly but surely, Sunny Meadow Hospital began to recover from the Dr. Pilgood scandal. The patients returned, the staff regained their confidence, and the community renewed its trust. The hospital had learned a valuable lesson about the importance of vigilance, accountability, and transparency. And they were determined to never let anything like this happen again. The ordeal had brought everyone closer together, solidifying their commitment to providing the best possible care to their patients. And it all started with a sharp-eyed janitor and an overflowing sink. A few weeks later, Sunny Meadow Hospital held a special ceremony to honor Mr. Clean and Nurse Helpful. The hospital lobby was decorated with balloons and banners, and a large crowd of staff, patients, and community members gathered to celebrate their heroism. Ms. Stern stood at the podium, her voice filled with pride and gratitude as she spoke about Mr. Clean and Nurse Helpful's actions. She highlighted their courage, their dedication, and their unwavering commitment to the hospital and its patients. Today, we honor two individuals who went above and beyond the call of duty, Ms. Stern said. Mr. Clean and Nurse Helpful are true heroes, and they represent the best of Sunny Meadow Hospital. Their actions remind us that even the smallest acts of kindness and the most subtle observations can make a profound difference in the lives of others. She then presented Mr. Clean and Nurse Helpful with special awards, recognizing their outstanding service and their contributions to the hospital. The crowd erupted in applause, showing their appreciation for their bravery. Mr. Clean, still a little shy, stepped up to the podium and thanked everyone for their support. He said that he was just doing his job and that he was grateful to have played a part in protecting the patients at Sunny Meadow Hospital. "I never thought of myself as a hero," Mr. Clean said, his voice filled with emotion. "I just wanted to make sure that everyone was safe and healthy. I'm proud to be a part of this hospital, and I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to make a difference." Nurse Helpful also expressed her gratitude and emphasized the importance of speaking up when something seems wrong. She encouraged everyone to be vigilant and to trust their instincts. "We all have a responsibility to look out for each other," Nurse Helpful said. "If you see something that doesn't seem right, don't be afraid to say something. Your voice can make a difference." After the ceremony, Mr. Clean and Nurse Helpful were swarmed by well-wishers, who thanked them for their courage and their dedication. They were both humbled by the outpouring of support and appreciation. As the celebration wound down, Mr. Clean stood in the lobby, watching the crowd disperse. He smiled to himself, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment. He had come a long way from being just a simple janitor. He was now a hero, a role model, and an inspiration to everyone at Sunny Meadow Hospital. And he knew that he would continue to work hard to keep the hospital clean, safe, and a place of healing and hope for all. The overflowing sinks were a distant memory, replaced by a sense of purpose and a deep connection to the community he served. He still whistled as he mopped, but now his tunes were filled with even more joy and meaning. Life at Sunny Meadow Hospital eventually returned to normal, but with a renewed sense of community and a stronger commitment to patient safety. The stricter medication control policies were implemented, and everyone was more vigilant about reporting any suspicious activity. Mr. Clean continued his rounds, whistling his cheerful tunes and keeping the hospital sparkling clean. He was no longer just a janitor, he was a symbol of hope and integrity. People greeted him with smiles and words of encouragement, and he felt a deep connection to everyone at the hospital. He often stopped to chat with Nurse Helpful, sharing a laugh or a kind word. They had become good friends, united by their shared experience and their commitment to doing what was right. One sunny afternoon, as Mr. Clean was mopping the floor near the nurses' station, he overheard a conversation between two nurses. They were discussing a new doctor who had recently joined the staff. "Dr. Miller seems like a really good doctor," one of the nurses said. "He's very kind and compassionate, and he really cares about his patients." "I agree," the other nurse replied. "But he's also very meticulous about his medication practices. He double-checks everything and makes sure that everything is properly documented." Mr. Clean smiled to himself. He knew that the hospital was in good hands. The staff was more aware than ever of the importance of medication safety and the need to be vigilant. He continued mopping the floor, his heart filled with joy and gratitude. He had played a part in making Sunny Meadow Hospital a better place, and he was proud of what he had accomplished. As he worked, he noticed a small puddle of water near a sink. He frowned and went over to investigate. He saw that the sink was slightly clogged, causing the water to overflow. He sighed and grabbed his plunger. He knew what he had to do. He carefully unclogged the sink, making sure that the water drained properly. He then wiped down the area, leaving it clean and dry. As he finished his work, he smiled to himself. Some things never change. There will always be sinks to unclog and floors to mop. But now, he knew that he was doing more than just cleaning. He was protecting the patients, maintaining the integrity of the hospital, and making a difference in the lives of others. And that was something to whistle about. He started humming a cheerful tune as he pushed his mop bucket down the hall, ready to face whatever challenges the day might bring. He was Mr. Clean, and he was proud to be a part of Sunny Meadow Hospital. The story of Mr. Clean and Nurse Helpful serves as a powerful reminder that everyone, no matter their job or position, can make a difference in the world. It shows us that honesty, vigilance, and the courage to speak up are essential qualities for building a safe and trustworthy community. Even though it was scary, Mr. Clean knew he had to say something when he saw the overflowing sinks. He trusted his gut feeling and knew that something wasn't right. And because he spoke up, Nurse Helpful was able to investigate and uncover Dr. Pilgood's terrible secret. This story also teaches us that even seemingly small acts of kindness and observation can have a big impact. Mr. Clean wasn't looking to be a hero. He was simply doing his job, keeping the hospital clean and safe. But his sharp eyes and his caring heart led him to uncover a crime that could have harmed many people. Nurse Helpful's dedication to her patients and her willingness to listen to Mr. Clean's concerns were also crucial. She could have easily dismissed his observations, but she took him seriously and investigated the matter thoroughly. Her actions showed that she valued the safety and well-being of her patients above all else. Ms. Stern's leadership and her commitment to doing what was right were also essential to the story's happy ending. She took the allegations seriously, launched a thorough investigation, and took swift action to apprehend Dr. Pilgood and protect the patients at Sunny Meadow Hospital. The story of Sunny Meadow Hospital reminds us that honesty is always the best policy. Dr. Pilgood's dishonesty not only hurt his patients but also destroyed his career and his reputation. It's always better to tell the truth, even when it's difficult, because lies always come out in the end. It's also important to be vigilant and to pay attention to what's going on around you. If you see something that doesn't seem right, don't ignore it. Trust your instincts and speak up. You never know what kind of difference you might make. Speaking up can be scary, especially when it involves someone in a position of authority. But it's important to remember that you have a voice, and your voice matters. Don't be afraid to use it to stand up for what's right. So, the next time you see something that doesn't seem right, remember the story of Mr. Clean and Nurse Helpful. Remember their courage, their dedication, and their unwavering commitment to doing what was right. And remember that even the smallest acts of honesty, vigilance, and courage can make a world of difference. Sunny Meadow Hospital became a safer place because one janitor cared enough to notice an overflowing sink, and one nurse cared enough to listen. You can make a difference too.